What's up, guys? Elijah Schuyler here, owner and supervising broker of Venue Real Estate. I'm so excited to have Christy Whittington on for my very first community conversations video. Christy, she's the founder and vice president of Glocal. It's a Bozeman-based nonprofit that exists to provide exceptional, affordable housing and a supportive community. She's a wife, mother of 3, and is focused on helping the Bozeman community thrive with goals of impacting the world beyond. So, in short, I'm being joined today by a superhuman. So you have 3 little kids, and how old are your kids right now?
Yes, my son is 10, and my 2 daughters are 9, and last one's almost 3.
Yeah, and parenting is enough of a job on its own.
Yeah.
So you're mom superhuman by day and by night solving affordable housing in the Bozeman area, which is an interesting issue. It definitely affects us. And we got connected. First time I saw you guys were doing an announcement for your open house. What were you guys doing there?
Yeah, we were at the market on Main Street in Bozeman, and we were just handing out cards, just showing, just trying to get the word out, a little bit of who we are. And we were wanting to pay for customers' coffees, and then if they were interested in having a conversation of just hearing what it is that we do.
So I saw you guys' announcement.
Yeah.
Saw the exceptional affordable housing, which we're going to talk about more.
Yeah.
But it's been fun just getting to chat and hear about your vision and seeing how we merge up. It was super fun to serve you. But wanted to hear more, let the further Bozeman community know more about what you're doing.
Yeah.
So as you were getting started, like what was it that you were doing previous to starting Glocal, and how did the vision come about for the nonprofit?
Yes. I've had a few jobs before starting Glocal, but I have known for many years that I have wanted to start a nonprofit organization. And I've known that it would always have a housing aspect to it. And I didn't know exactly what that was going to look like and what demographic we were going to be serving. So in the summer of 2021, I started having more intentional conversations with members of our community because I wanted to really get Glocal going and off the ground. But I also wanted to see what other organizations were doing, how they were doing it, and exactly where the gaps in housing were that were not yet being filled. And while affordable housing is a very clear need, I feel like it became just as clear that we needed to also serve the middle income class, who are very much still needing of assistance during these really unprecedented times.
Yeah.
And so we just decided to focus on affordable housing, but for a very wide demographic of people. So,
Which is fascinating, because I think as being a real estate agent in the Valley, and there's lots of news articles about people that are in the lowest income bracket, but so interesting to find that niche and that middle bandwidth of people that were being overlooked. So definitely, as we've talked about, it's a wide need. And then as you're merging into your vision, it kind of comes in 2 parts.
Yeah.
The first part is provide exceptional affordable housing. Interesting pairing of words. How does that work itself out?
So I think exceptional can be defined as of a higher quality. And while that is still a really broad and even subjective definition, we wanted the community to know that that Glocal is coming in with very high standards. And that when we do buy and build housing for our clients, we want them to be able to enter into a home, just a very dignified place to call home. And we just simply don't believe that quality and care and cleanliness really always need to come with that hefty price tag.
Which often, in affordable housing, that there can be an attitude of, we're providing you a place to live, you have a house, you have a shelter over your head. But as far as your experiences, have you heard experiences of other people in that context and how that housing affects their sense of dignity?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's certainly a stigma around affordable housing and kind of what that looks like. Well, for me personally, when I was 13 years old, I lived just outside of Houston, Texas. And my parents were selling our family home. And my dad was in a transitional period in his career. So while he was picking up some side jobs and my mom was still working, we didn't know if we were going to stay in the area or if we were going to be moving or if we were going to be out of state. So we were in kind of like this weird spot. So after they sold their home, we stayed in a motel for about 6 to 8 weeks. And it's even hard to fully say what that was like. But I think even going into it as a 13-year-old, it was still very humiliating and undignifying to enter into a hotel or a motel room with 5 people, you know, for several weeks at a time. That's, you know, dark and kind of dingy. And just, and while my parents were very much working very hard, sometimes me and my sisters just had to stay in the room because it was during the summertime, and so we weren't even at school. Things certainly got a little boring, a little scary at times. Yeah, and I think for the first time in my life that's when I experienced depression. And of course, I didn't know how to identify it at the time. I didn't really know how to articulate how I was feeling. I definitely felt overwhelmed. I know my family was very overwhelmed. But at the exact same time, there was a couple in our church who were going to go on this extended vacation. So they invited our family to stay in their home. So we were able to come out of that motel after several weeks and stay in their home for, I think, about 4 to 5 weeks. So coming out of one motel room into this beautiful, absolutely beautiful, spacious 5-bedroom home that also had cable. I remember it had the Disney Channel. I was so excited. I just couldn't believe it. It created this shift. It created this complete psychological shift from entering into a place that you never want to end up in to a place that was like a vacation for us. Yeah. Right? And so it changed our overall well-being. And so even now it's hard to articulate exactly what that shift meant and what that did for us physically and mentally and emotionally. But I think people who have been in a similar situation know exactly what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. So you have, what a powerful story that you have. So you have firsthand experience in what it feels like. That, I mean, you had shelter in both contexts.
Yes.
But one was exceptional, and it helped to give you a sense of dignity. I hear that the hotel experience was that the environment that you were in, even though you had shelter, you were being cared for, that environment was affecting your family dynamic and drawing on your parents' resources.
Absolutely.
So hearing that experience then, so that's the first portion of exceptional affordable housing. What do you think of those experiences has helped to form then how the second portion of your vision in supportive community, like how does exceptional affordable housing tie together with supportive community?
Yeah, I think it does in a couple ways. I think that we're just in a very individualistic culture right now. We're kind of in I'll stay in my lane, you stay in yours, I'll do me, I'll do what makes me happy, you do you, you do what makes you happy. But if we continue down that path, our lanes will never cross. And so when we were in that motel room, this family could have easily, ignored kind of the need that was there. They could have decided to, keep their home perfect and spotless, and when they came back from vacation, it would have been exactly the same, making sure none of their nice things were broken. Nothing got ruined.
3 young girls running around.
Yes, exactly. And instead of staying in their lane, they came into ours. And they didn't just come into ours. They said, we recognize you have a need, come into our home, and they made that sacrifice for us. And I think without us being willing to even step into somebody else's lane and walking alongside of them, and serving them in whatever resources that we have, or in whatever way that we can, then we're really missing out on a lot of needs.
Yeah.
And then in the same way, a lot of these people who are in need, sometimes it seems that they don't think that they have anything to offer, which could not be more wrong. They have resources and skills and talents and passions that they can in turn offer and serve others in. So one example of that is that we had a young woman who we served in our emergency rental assistance. And we ask anybody we serve in housing to walk through our supportive community initiative, which means they serve someone else in need, but in an intentional way. So she cleans and organizes homes for a living. That's something she really enjoys doing. And she offered a free house cleaning for another single mom in need. So she did that just before Christmas. This other mom was going through a hard time, and this just completely lifted her spirits. She did a wonderful job in that cleaning, and yeah, it was excellent. And so just being able to, again, to offer your own resources and come into somebody else's life who you would have never actually met.
Yeah. So beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think your one idea where you said there's kind of the live, let live mentality where we're running in parallel, like parallel paths is one of the most lonely orientations possible, because it means we're always going to stay in isolation. So, I mean, I'm getting this picture of lives intersecting, that your friends intersected your lives, reached out, brought you in. That brings conversations, maybe difficult things, but there's an intersection. But then I hear that your supportive community then your clients, you're helping redirect them to intersecting the lives of others. There's this connection. It's like a net. So you like grab one thread and you pull on it, but as we intersect, then it pulls them in. So it's like it starts expanding outwards.
Right, absolutely.
It starts becoming sustainable.
Yes.
Glocal then starts kind of feeding into that. I mean, the first time I engaged Glocal was at a farmer's market, acting locally, thinking globally.
Yeah.
So you're a Bozeman-based nonprofit for affordable housing here.
Yeah.
But Glocal is global. Like
yes.
How do those two pair together? And where
absolutely. Well, because we live right here in Gallatin County, we personally live in Belgrade. We want to start our efforts here. I feel like I can recognize the needs that we have here. So we want to start our efforts here. But when I did have the dream to start a nonprofit organization, there was never any question that it was going to be global. I always knew that I wanted it to be an international mission and vision. As we come to build and buy housing in Bozeman, Montana, that will look different than if we were to provide affordable housing in Beijing, China, right? So we'll look different, but so we act locally in the way that we listen to our community members. We address the need that is not quite being met, or that could be met with another organization's hands coming in, and then work in the best way that we can to serve the community. And then we'll go into other communities, and it may not be necessarily a copy and paste method. I think certain things will still exist. Certain programs that we have will still pair well in other areas and in other states and countries, but the housing aspect might look a little different. Affordable might look different.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. So I hear in that Glocal isn't something of the future, that you're practicing that now. As Bozeman being a part of a global community, that you're listening well here, you're pulling out that middle class need, but as a result of relationship, and as you practice those, your hope is then to export that and do the same thing in China, Africa, all over, wherever there's a need. That's far-flung vision. I like that you think small ideas. That's good. So as you thinking about globally and getting involved here in the area, so supportive community, like how can the Bozeman community, how could people who are watching, how can they reach out, connect with you, and help? How can they put a shoulder to the wheel?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's several ways to partner. One way would be calls marketing. So an example of that would be if a business wanted to partner with Glocal, if something we do does strike a chord with their values. And one thing that they could do for their business is donating a small percentage of their profits for a specific day to Glocal, and in that way it markets them well, but it markets us well as well, and it gets our name out there. Another way would be skills-based support and in-kind donations. We are currently looking for somebody who might be willing to act as a volunteer in donating their services of bookkeeping and accounting.
'Tis the season.
Yeah, exactly. That would be amazing. And in-kind donations, I think that there are people who are looking to make donations in land and in even housing units, that there are causes that they might want to donate to, and so that is something that, of course, that's a conversation we would, of course, be privileged to have. And then the last way would be a financial donation. And the easiest way to go about that would be to go onto our website, localhousing.org. And then if they would prefer to mail in a donation, doing so through our P.O. box, which is also online, but they can give online as well. And if some people really want to know exactly where their funds are going, which I totally get, we are accepting restricted donations, which means if they want it to go to a specific program, then we'll put every dime towards that program.
That's awesome. Hopefully lots of people reach out. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Hopefully you're as inspired as I am right now. If you'd like to reach out to Christy, her contact information will be provided at the end of this video. So thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.